Okay, don't forget, we already talked about this, but your job one for all fitness professionals, protect and improve structural and functional integrity. As we know, regular weight loss, not fat loss like we do, but regular weight loss compromises both structural and functional integrity as your body loses muscles, organs, and bones. So we don't let that happen automatically, minimum, no matter what. Everybody gets a multivitamin mineral to fill all the gaps. Mindful that yours are a 4-in-1. You can't buy anything like that without buying 4 different products. You know, now that has choline and big, super high vitamin D, vitamin C, and then protein at 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. Those 2 things will protect the lean body mass during weight loss. So that's just automatic, okay? And that's what we call baseline supplementation. All right, so let's get to what we're talking about. Our second job with weight loss is to get people addicted to fitness as fast as possible, so make it happen easy, quickly, right, and as healthfully as possible. We just talked about that part, all right, because we need to get that instant gratification. We get that, and we get them locked into that addiction to fitness. And these are temporary. You need to know that. Whenever we use ThermAccel, weight with any of these here, especially what we call them specialty fat loss products, okay, because that first grouping, the baseline supplementation, can support your lean body mass. These things speed it up, okay, and they can actually add to the health a little bit as well. But these things are temporarily used. Sometimes some people need them for maybe even a whole year. But you know, the goal is to get them on it and then get them to move through it and get them to move faster than they would if they weren't on it. And then they can go right, just settle down to baseline supplementation. And that's what the goal is, okay? All right, so let's get into this with ThermAccel, because ThermAccel, of the 3, without a doubt, this is the big daddy. But remember, it does have stimulants in it, which is what makes it much more powerful when it comes to assisting in weight loss. Let's dive into the beginning of it. All right, here's the formula. What the new addition now, as we added, we have added Cinetrol. All right. And this has got a lot of science to it. So the product's definitely been enhanced. Same thermogenic effect, but with Cinetrol, we've done a couple other things here that you'll see. So if I had to sum it up in one, this is what it is. Look at the bottom sentence. Controlled stimulant, controlled. It's a really soft buzz with the theanine there to kind of control this caffeine. Controlled stimulant formula to increase metabolism and daily activity. So it's not just increasing your metabolism when you're sitting down, but also make you want to move more. And then, of course, support appetite. So there's a quick sentence that kind of summarizes the product. There's the formula. Those are just the ingredient. The only new thing that you see on here would be the Cinetrol right here. Okay. All right. And then, by the way, the directions are a little different than they were. If you take a look at, what they were here, we used to take, 4 tabs and then we tell you to split it, but now it's 2 tabs and then 2 tabs later. Okay. All right. So let's just take a look at the goal. Bottom line is the goal of any supplement that assists in body fat reduction of some type is to increase calorie burn without having to do more work. That's the whole idea. So everyone's going to come to a plateau. I mean, no one just starts off on a diet and exercise and keeps losing weight until they get to their goal. God, that would be a wonderful world, right? But the body obviously adapts, and we know how the body adapts. It loses weight. As soon as you lose weight, look at that number down there. For every 10% of weight loss, you burn 100 to 150 less calories. And that doesn't include another 100 calories because you're in better shape. So it could be 200 calories. So we're trying to offset that without telling you got to do more and more cardio and cut your calories like a bodybuilder would for getting ready for a show. So the bottom line is we're trying to help overcome those natural adaptive plateaus. And again, everybody's going to come to it, even when the diet's healthy. We're trying to eliminate that more deliberate work. We're trying to make it easy for the person, all right? Now, so what we're trying, because the only thing all we can do otherwise, calories burn, if we can increase them without adding more exercise or needed added work, what we call spontaneous activity, that would be the goal. If we can control appetite, so as their body fat goes down, because don't forget, appetite gets crazy, as your body fat goes down, your body's tricking you into eating more food. So if we can actually control appetite without, during calorie restriction, that's another huge win. And without a doubt, thermogenic blends like we have the ability to accomplish both those things. And then, of course, there's some plant extracts like Carnalluma fibreata that can accomplish the appetite. So the goal is, again, potentially that these combined additive effects would ease the workload, mitigate hunger, and allow continued weight reduction with less hardship. That's your key. That is your big selling point. My goal is to turn 12 weeks of work into 6. Oh, I'm in. All right, that's an easy one. Okay, here now. So let's get to a little bit of the science behind it. So we really have a 3-pronged approach here. The thermogenic complex with caffeine, yerba mate, guarana, and green tea, okay, and capsaicin, which is, of course, like what you find in chili peppers, independently and combined have demonstrated that they can increase energy expenditure. So they all have sort of different mechanisms of action to increase not just energy expenditure, but drawing energy from fat rather than carbohydrates. Okay, now Sinatrol, the new one, okay, is a combination of a non-stimulant polyphenols. Polyphenols are also found in caffeine, but contribute to different mechanisms, increase fat oxidation as well. So think of it this way, Sinatrol really partitions the way you draw energy. So when you're using calories, as you do, when you sit here, it can actually move it over to your fat stores rather than taking it from what's coming in from your food or sugar. And then, of course, Carnalluma fibreata is an appetite suppressor as well, but from completely different mechanisms. So let's get into them. All right, so 2 tablets contain 200 milligrams of caffeine. And to put that in perspective, that's a little more than a grande Starbucks. Grande Starbucks is about a 1, I'm sorry, not a grande, but what's the middle one? Grande? I don't know. I think grande is the middle one. The middle one, it's about 175 mgs of caffeine. So it's a little higher than that, right? Now, caffeine really has multiple prongs, and everybody knows how caffeine works. Drink a strong cup of coffee, and you feel different. No one argues that, right? And by the way, caffeine is actually been shown to be very healthy for people. In fact, people that drink anywhere from 5 to 6 cups a day end up having decreases in all types of risk factors for different diseases, including diabetes and everything else. So caffeine is one of those things that, and it's certainly from coffee anyway. It has some health benefits as well. But anyway, so first of all, we know, everybody knows it increases metabolic rate, but it also increases fat oxidation, pulling energy from fat when you use it. And it does this through blocking, we call it stimulation, but it blocks and this will make sense to all of you here. So it's basically an adenosine receptor blocker. So what happens is when you're active and you're up all day, your body's using ATP, as we know, and as it uses ATP, then the adenosine part of the molecule falls apart after using these energy molecules. That gets up here and it goes into a receptor, right, through the brain and through all other parts of the central nervous system. Goes in a receptor and tells your body, hey, you're getting tired. You're getting a little sleepy, you're getting a little tired. So caffeine is a methylxanthine molecule, and it looks just like an adenosine molecule. So guess what it does? It goes and sits in the receptor, blocks that receptor, and now these adenosine molecules that are coming from all your activity can't get in there. So you're alert, you're awake, you're able to make these decisions. And by the way, that's why pilots drink caffeine the way they do. You can't even be a commercial pilot if you can't use caffeine, because you also focus better. So what we call an adenosine blocker is really its main, and then a cascade of other events takes place when that happens. Causes a buildup of cyclic AMP, and that increases all your cellular activities, okay? When you cyclic AMP would normally be degraded, but with blocking that adenosine, it builds it up. Now, and also, as we know, it stimulates our central nervous system. That's not a secret to anybody, right? And that all kinds of stuff. So that releases norepinephrine and epinephrine. These are what we call catecholamines, right? That keep you kind of buzzed. All right. And then it also inhibits the enzyme that breaks down those catecholamines, which is called phosphodiesterase. We'll just call it PDE for now. All right. And that would lead to keeping the AMP high. So that's basically how caffeine works all the way around. And the same thing with pretty much most stimulants that are related. Now, green tea is also a bit of a stimulant, but it's very low caffeine. So it's not the caffeine that bumps it, but it works synergistically with it. It increases energy expenditure and fat oxidation by inhibiting another enzyme. Now, this enzyme is what we call catecholomethyltransferase. We're going to call it COMT, okay, to make it easy. It degrades those hormones, that epinephrine and norepinephrine, the one that gives you that buzz. This would normally degrade those because you can't get too buzzed. That's just the body's way of just kind of calming you down. But if we can stop that enzyme from working, which what EGCG can do a little bit, then that keeps those things high and it complements caffeine stimulus that way. And then there's something else just recently they found about EGCG, which is why green tea extract is one of the most common supplements around. It also activates what we call adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. And that is a whole enzyme system that affects the way your body burns energy. So it stops you from making glucose and it stops you from making fat as well. So it kind of changed the signaling that goes on. So that's how the two of them work together. And if you put them together, here's what you get. So kind of summarizing what I was just talking about. Here's caffeine, blocks adenosine. If that happens, your catecholamines stay high. It stimulates your central nervous system, or what we call the sympathetic nervous system, and now the catecholamines are really, getting this norepinephrine and epinephrine. The enzyme now that breaks down that cyclic AMP that's going up there is now being blocked as well. So it increases that. Now you got all this good stuff happening, increasing energy expenditure, increasing fat burning, and satiety, giving you also as well, and reducing hunger. So those are just kind of that's a summary of what we just talked about with caffeine. And EGCG right down in here. And this is a download for all you guys. That's why I put all this in here for you. So for those of you that are science nuts and want to see all this, okay? So EGCG here kind of affects the gene expression all the way around. That's what we're looking at here to get you to do sort of the same things that caffeine does, but from completely different mechanisms all the way down here. And if you put the two together, you can see the energy. Look at this, is 24-hour energy expenditure from a great study that was done by Delu, one of the ones that really got caffeine and green tea put together. You can see the significant increase in energy expenditure, and you can see the significant increase grams per day now of fat, the extra fat being burned. So this became, obviously, that's why caffeine and green tea became such popular weight loss supplements. Now, let's finish up the thermogenic blend with capsaicin. And this is nothing more than that when you're eating a hot chili pepper. And by the way, people that eat chili peppers regularly are leaner than people that don't. And this is the reason why. You all know what it's like when you start sweating. Well, that's exactly what it's doing. When you're eating this thing, it is bumping up your energy expenditure, calorie burn, but it's doing a completely different mechanism here, right? First of all, it does increase energy expenditure and lipid oxidation because, and also reduces appetite. You eat a green chili pepper, a hot pepper, man, it will cut your appetite for sure. But what it does is there's a receptor called TRP, right? And it's a transient receptor potential. And that enhances brown adipose tissue. For those of you that don't remember what that is, that's the fat that actually burns calories rather than stores them. And what happens is when you're a kid, you're born with a lot of brown fat. That's why you burn a lot more calories as a kid. But that brown fat goes away as you get older. It's there to keep our organs warm as we're freezing. So it's a leftover evolutionary thing. So if we can activate that brown fat, well, that's the good news, because now you are actually just burning calories as heat. And that helps heat your body up. So scientists for the last 10 years are hard on what's the brown adipose tissue is the target we want to hit. What can we use to hit it? Well, capsaicin is one. They find that, of course, that's an extraction from hot chili peppers. And this is sort of the way it works, as you can see down here. This is what we're trying to do. It turns white fat cells, which is the ones that stores your calories, into brown fat cells as well. They just discovered that this literally a couple of years ago. So this is fairly a new, not the brown adipose tissue part burning heat, but the fact that it can actually convert white to brown. So having the right amount in there. So this is just sort of it. We stimulate those channels with capsaicin, right? That stimulates the sympathetic nervous system activation. Those we talked about, the hormones going up, right? And that right there enhances the thermogenesis of oxygen consumption. So these are what we call uncoupling proteins that are in the fat. It gets there, and instead of releasing as energy, it turns into heat. and that's why it heats you up. So now you know why eating chili peppers heats you up. So we just extracted it out of the chili pepper and put it in here for you. All right, now to make sure you don't get too buzzed, we put in theanine. And the whole rationale behind that, you know how green tea is a common sort of feel-good relaxant. For thousands of years it's been used to kind of just actually calm people down, yet it has caffeine in it. Well, how does it calm people down if it has caffeine? Two reasons. One reason is that it has very low caffeine, tea leaves, so like 1/3 of what coffee would normally have. Two, it has theanine. And there's a ratio between the theanine naturally occurring in green tea that soothes and keeps caffeine. It actually delivers that anti-stress against caffeine stimulation. So that's how it balances out. And this ratio that we put in here is exactly the ratio between that and the caffeine that we have in here is the ratio found naturally in green tea to give it the calming effect, which is why when you take this, you don't have that crazy burnout feeling at the end of the day. That's why you'll find this so much better than other. Now, a lot of people use theanine, but what they don't do that we do is we copy the ratio that's naturally found in tea, so the calming effect works even though we have greater caffeine. Okay, and then final, the other ingredient on appetite, Camellia fibrillata. It supports in a different way. It actually goes to the hypothalamus. You have a feeding center and you have a satiety center on the hypothalamus on the right side, lateral and medial sides. And this one actually goes to the hypothalamus and affects what we call the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. SSRI, these are also antidepressant type things, drugs or SSRI. Well, this actually affects that also, and it just cuts the appetite. And these were used. This is an Indian herb from India, and it's used for thousands of years by the natives, obviously thousands of years ago, during hunts to control their appetite so they wouldn't eat their arms off. So it is an extract from that plant and shown very well. A lot of new studies on it as well. And it also blocks a little bit of carbohydrate, like Carb Repel works. It actually blocks a little bit of absorption. Now, and our new product, our new ingredient in here is Cinetrol. And this actually works in a very unique way. First of all, it is a polyphenol, not unlike, things that are found in coffee beans and so forth. But this is actually from the rinds of grapefruits and blood oranges. And what it does, really, in a nutshell, it also tries to block PDE, right? The phosphodiesterase enzyme that breaks down the cyclic AMP. So if it can do that, then we can keep the cyclic AMP higher just the way caffeine would. So it does it from a whole different mechanism. And that would enhance fat oxidation and also favor gene expression to be able to, and I want you to remember this term, energy partitioning. And what that means is where your body decides to use energy from. Does it use it from your muscle, which it can, obviously, from your body fat, or from your carbohydrate? So Cinetrol and caffeine as well, both of them will work to be able to partition to take energy from fat stores more than it will in the other direction. So again, you're seeing the same end result of blocking this enzyme, right? Blocking this enzyme and blocking this enzyme, but from different mechanisms, and that's the beauty of it. So if you take a look at this, this works through the inhibition of PDE and stimulation of fat oxidation genes in areas of lipid metabolism, including the breaking up of cells and telling you where to go. So these are, you won't be able to see this, you'll see it on a bigger slide here in a minute. But this is where it does. Once it comes in, it blocks these enzymes. And that, by blocking this, we keep the AMP high. If the AMP high, the whole time, your body's thinking about what it needs to do. I need to burn more fat, and I'm not hungry. Burn more fat, I'm not hungry. Otherwise, that AMP is degraded by that PDE enzyme, and Cinetrol works to block that. And there's no caffeine in Cinetrol either, so it's not bumping it up at all. And this study, another thing I should have mentioned, all these things in this product, you have to buy separately. So the deal your consumer's getting is pretty crazy, because Cinetrol is sold completely by itself. It works that well. You look at this particular study here, and you see some amazing results. All right, this is a 12-weeker, I think it was here. But it significantly stimulated just fat burning, number one, right? Six-fold greater than placebo, which is pretty crazy. But look at this. Body fat significantly decreased. Okay, so 2.53%, 5.6 after 4 and 12 respectively. And the body weight decreased significantly also, 6.6 and 12 versus placebo. So you're going that much faster, and everything else is equal. Diet's equal, exercise equal, and look how much faster. That's why I would say my goal is to turn, my goal is always to turn 6 weeks, 12 weeks into 6. That's what the goal is, and I can just do that right there. And that's what we're trying to do. That's just Cinetrol. Now when you add the thermogenic blend and you add Carmelula, can you imagine? That's how well this can work. All right, so let's look at the typical youth. We kind of covered all that. Let's look at how would you do. Anyone without adverse events to stimulants, because if they have adverse events, or if they're taking antidepressant medication, they'd have to clear that with their doctor for sure. Seeking to, of course, accelerate weight loss and weight plateaus, as we talked about. People who need serious, in other words, I don't necessarily starve people out. Okay, so I'm getting a couple of actors and actresses, very well-known ones to all of you. Most of you know that's what we do also. For movies, I put them on it immediately because they have a very short window to look a certain way. So if someone, aggressive weight loss, right? So you've got somebody that, they got a wedding coming up there behind schedule. They've got a high school reunion. They've got, whatever they're trying to get done quickly. I'm getting somebody ready for show. And of course, all bodybuilders live on this the last 8 weeks. So definitely those are the people that are candidates for this right off the bat. Otherwise, if you've had someone that's been tried many times, it's like people who need serious multiple pronged approach, just because they failed many times before, this is something that can help them get over that hump. And once they get over that hump, they should be able to reduce it, be able to cut back on it. That's what this last part is. Discontinue after reaching body fat goal or when the lifestyle is under control. All right, so there's just the dosage. Talked about that, it's right on there. All right, so just a little summary of the key points. The combined ingredients of ThermAccel have the ability to significantly increase metabolic rate, as we saw on the diagrams, and potentially make you want to do more spontaneous activity too, so move more. So it's not just your metabolic rate while you're sitting down, but make you want to get up and move more while balancing the stimulatory effects and suppress appetites, and all there is through about 5 or 6 different mechanisms of action, all in one product. So the savings is quite unique. It may allow, the goal is to allow the user to overcome a typical plateau without having to give them more work. That's what we're trying to do here. Otherwise, they're going to quit. Make it easier for them. That's what the goal is. And of course, this is why it's such a popular product for us. We have doctors that recommend this all the time because weight loss prescription drugs, they have too many negative side effects, including getting yanked off the market, right? Taxes the liver, the heart, kidneys, all that, and very few results. Nothing is powerful as something like this, right? And that's why there's high interest in products like ThermAccel and other natural sources for assisting in weight management. And these, by the way, these studies are all from your PDSRG. That's why you see the numbers in here. This is a lecture I do for a group of docs. Okay, so here's a summary for you in a picture. Caffeine, you saw this one already. That's how it works. There's all its mechanisms. Blocking the enzyme that breaks down the AMP, because that's what we want up there. Blocks this, keeps you alert, keeps you awake, keeps those catecholamines jumping up and down, and that helps burn a little more fat, keep your energy expenditure up. This complements caffeine by affecting the partitioning, don't forget that word, of where energy is coming from all the way around, and in the gene expression that tells it where to go, pull it from fat, not carbs. And you got the rest of the, and it blocks the other enzyme here as well. And then you've got the last of the thermogenic ones here, the capsaicin, which completely different mechanism, nothing to do with any of these enzymes up here, but it does stimulate the sympathetic nervous system to help you burn calories as heat, which is why you get warm when you're taking this. And then Cinetrol, which complements caffeine by blocking this. Now you can see it, see? Blocking the catechol methyltransferase or COMT enzyme that would normally break down those hormones that make you feel good, right? So it blocks that, so it keeps that up a little bit. And of course, PDE to keep that AMP high, to keep you burning more fat than carbs. And then finally, to help manage the glucose, and we talked about blocking a little bit of the carb absorption, you've got Camarilla, Fibriata. And there you have it, folks. The whole thing, the whole shebang.